Thank you for joining us here at Lowry Sports Rhetoric. I am your host, Nathan.
I'm Damon.
And today we're going to continue in the NFC with the NFC West. San Francisco 49ers. Last year, 2021, they were 10-7. They lost the NFC Championship to the Rams 17-20. On offense, they were 7th in yards, 12th in points. Defensively, they were 3rd in yards allowed and 9th in points allowed. It's pretty good numbers. Their GM, John Lynch, came in 2017. He's been there now for 5 years.
Yeah, John Lynch, I just got to say, John Lynch, one of my favorite all-time non-Bear players. I love John Lynch as a player. And I remember when he came to the team, it was like, okay, this could be interesting. I know he's super smart, went to Stanford. He was a smart player on the field. So I thought it was an interesting hire without having any real GM experience. I was curious how it would go. And to me, he has been a home run of a GM.
I think so, too.
I mean, just all of his moves have been pretty good. I not too much to complain about and a lot to congratulate. So I think overall he's been a very good GM for them.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I like John Lynch a lot. Again, to just reiterate on that, I liked him as a player as well. He was very fun to watch, and he has a high brain, high caliber player. So I agree. I think that he's done a good job there, GM. Coach Kyle Shanahan, same. Came in 2017, 5 years, 43-44.
So that's the first really good thing that John Lynch did, right? He hired Kyle Shanahan. It was a home run hire. Obviously he learned from his dad. I think he's one of the better coaches out there right now, especially if you factor age into it. He might be the best of his age group in the coaching staffs. So to me, GM head coach combo, one of the best in the league combos.
I agree. I like him a lot. All right, we're going to get into free agent additions here. The first free agent addition is Charvanius Ward, cornerback out of Kansas City. He's a good player. George Odom, safety out of Indianapolis. I'm not sure that Odom ever lived up to what we thought his potential would be. I think he's a solid player. I'm not going to throw him as a great player, but he is a solid player for sure. Oren Burks, inside linebacker out of Green Bay. Ray McLeod, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh.
I like Ray. I think he's got some upside.
He definitely has some upside there. Hassan Ridgeway, defensive tackle out of Philadelphia. Again, I think that there's some upside there. Kamoka Toure, defensive end out in Indianapolis. I actually didn't want him to leave us. I actually like Toure a lot. I think he definitely has a high motor there. And I think he's got some injury issues. But as a player, I liked him a lot. And I would have liked to seen him stay. I'm not sure that he quite fits what we're doing defensively. But I think when you throw him on this team, I think that is a good, at least, rotation player there. Very, very solid. So, Kerry Hyder, defensive end out of Seattle.
Not too familiar.
Tyler Croft, tight end out of the Jets.
Yeah, I like Croft coming out of college. He didn't really do a whole lot for the Jets. So is that because of the Jets, or is that because of
I think
Croft?
it's hard to shine in the Jets system, and I agree. I think that there's some upside.
He's got one of the best in the league to learn from. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. As a I don't mind. I like that. Malik Turner, wide receiver out of Dallas, and Marcus Johnson, wide receiver out of Tennessee.
So they really were working on that wide receiver depth.
Yeah, absolutely. Adding that to there. All right. Free agent losses. Laken Tomlinson, guard, went to the Jets. DJ Jones, defensive tackle, went to Denver. Quan Williams, cornerback, went to Denver. Arden Key, defensive end, went to Jacksonville. Tom Compton, guard, went to Denver. Raheem Mostert, running back, to Miami. Could be a little bit of a hurt there, but Mostert had some upside. He did obviously well in the Super Bowl run that they did during the playoffs. But
I think he's looking for a starting job, and that rookie they had last year will have that starting job going forward.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense. Kind of like what we talked about with Mac and you guys. It's if you've been a starter, it's hard to become a backup unless you're just at the end of your career. So it makes sense for him to move on. It makes sense to let him because as good as he was for them,
they might have a better one.
The rookie they had last year is a better player, so he's going to have the starting job, and that's just how it is. So,
Kentavious Street, defensive end, went to New Orleans. Marcel Harris, safety, went to the Jets. Trent Sherfield, wide receiver, went to Miami. Trenton Cannon, San Francisco. I'm sorry. I have him as I have him coming from San Francisco going to Tennessee. I did not write down what his position was.
He was just San Francisco.
He was
He was Mr. San Francisco.
I don't know who he is, so but he went to Tennessee.
Hey, San Francisco fans, let us know in the comments what this guy does.
Oh my gosh, I'm pretty good at these. I think I was rushing to get it done. All right, Jaquiski Tart, free safety, went to Philadelphia. There's some upside there. Richie James, wide receiver to the Giants, and then Mohamed Sanu, wide receiver to Miami. I believe that's their losses. Yeah. Like you were saying, like we were talking about a little bit before we started the video. There's some names there that they lost. I don't know about the talent level.
Yeah, I feel like some positions they might have upgraded, other positions they might have downgraded. So, like the defensive ends, I don't know. That might hurt them a little bit. The guards might hurt them a little bit. But I think they actually might be better at wide receivers. So.
And I felt like they brought in some good defensive ends as solid rotation players, again, when you get into like Toure and things like that.
I think just Arden Key.
And when you look at the draft.
Like Arden Key especially is, I know he had like a lot of potential when they drafted him, and he's like maybe never reached the potential they wanted, but it seems like he has. Maybe that's it. Maybe he has higher potential than those other guys, and in my mind, that's a loss. But he wasn't recognizing the potential,
maybe he
which is why they moved
what
on.
They were doing defensively.
True.
Here's the thing is, and again, like I say about my team, I think that like we talked about John Lynch and giving him high praise and stuff like that. I think that GMs like that know what they're doing. So I mean,
sure. You got to at a certain point. You got to trust the GM. Yeah,
that's right. And it's like there might be a name that somebody sees and says, "Oh yeah, okay, I know that," but he doesn't really fit what they're doing. He's a good player. So all in all, yeah, kind of. All right, trades. There were no trades there for San Francisco. Let's get into the draft. Round 2, number 61, they draft Drake Jackson, defensive end out of USC. I like this kid. I like him a lot, to be honest with you.
I mean, he seems on paper really good. Yeah. He should be a great complementary piece to Bosa.
Yes.
Lucky for him, he's never going to see any double teams. So the question is, can he prevent them from double teaming Bosa?
Yeah.
Can he make them pay for double teaming Bosa? And if he can do that, look out.
Yeah. A lot of upside there, though.
For sure.
He's a good player. Round 3, number 93, Tyron Davis Price, running back out of LSU.
So that's your back. That's your
Mostert
replacement probably. Like especially if you're taking him in the 3rd round, you're expecting him to get be part of a rotation. I think like I said, I think their rookie from last year will be the lead back. But as a backup, I think that's a pretty solid backup.
Yep.
He had some solid numbers. He's a good athlete for sure. And I think the 49ers have done this. They've had a really good, especially since Lynch has been there. They don't go for the big name in the draft. They get a guy that they like and get him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and they've had a pretty good. They've always had pretty good production out of guys like that. So, next man up was always their motto, and I think that this will be a solid piece to that.
All right, round 3, number 105, you got Danny Gray, wide receiver out of SMU.
I love this kid.
I do too. I think that this is a kid who, if he went to a different school, would probably be higher up on the draft. Again, we've talked to this in length in these videos. It was a major draft class for wide receivers the last couple years, but this year, very particular, I think Danny Gray is going to be good quality here at round 3.
So I think the one knock on Danny Gray, he might have a little bit of an injury knock on his name. He did suffer injury issues early in his career in college. I don't believe he got injured last year, but that definitely affected him. If you remember right, we were watching that his junior year when he just absolutely lit Memphis up, and then I think a game or two after that he got hurt.
Yeah.
But he absolutely lit that Memphis team up, and he was.
It was hard to watch.
Well, it was fun to watch from a Danny Gray perspective.
Yeah.
And I think if the kid reaches his full potential, he is.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
He could be a really, really good wide receiver.
Sure. Round 4, number 134, Spencer Burford, offensive lineman out of UTSA. Honestly, don't know anything about this guy.
I mean, UTSA is an interesting school. They've been producing a handful of NFL caliber players the last few years. Obviously, they're in Texas. They're a school that has been getting better and better at the college level, and as they've done so, they've added more and more NFL caliber players. So I'm not going to lie and say I've watched a ton of UTSA, and especially wasn't paying attention to the guards on UTSA. That would be a lie if I
he's
said
just
that.
a lineman, so he could
Lineman
be a
in
tackler.
general, yeah. Wasn't paying attention to the linemen at UTSA when the few occasions that they might have been on my screen for fantasy football reasons. I can't speak intelligently to them. I just know that they get a lot of good athletes from Texas, and that they've produced a handful of guys to the NFL every year. So, not your typical not the same as like Sam Houston State, where we go, well, we don't know what this guy is. Let's see. Like, they actually do produce NFL talent every year, so it's a little bit better than that, I would say.
All right, round 5, number 172, Samuel Womack, cornerback out of Toledo. Again, don't follow a lot of Toledo, so I don't know a lot about this guy. He didn't show up on my radar, but I didn't do a whole lot of cornerback research, so...
Well, okay, so the MAC completely canceled the COVID year, and then last year they started late, I believe. Or the COVID year they started late, so I didn't watch them at all. Last year I didn't pay too close of attention. So, yeah, a lot of times I do watch a lot of MAC football, but I did not watch any Toledo last year that I can remember, so, yeah, I can't really talk about them either.
Trust the GM.
Trusted Lynch.
Round 6, number 187, we got Nick Zakel, offensive lineman out of Fordham. Again, not watching much Fordham, so I don't know much about him.
I mean, he's probably intelligent. He'll bring some intelligence to the team, I bet.
Round 6, number 220, Kalia Davis, defensive tackle out of UCF. I do watch UCF, but...
You don't remember this guy?
Don't remember this guy. He didn't
Me
stand
either.
out. He didn't stand out.
Me either, and I watched a handful of UCF games last year, and I don't remember him, but
it's a round 6 pick, so what do you do?
Trust the GM.
Trust the GM. Round 6, number 221, Tariq Castro Fields, cornerback out of Penn State.
Look, Penn State's defense was really good last year, particularly at corner. They have why am I blanking on his name? His dad was linebacker in the NFL. Oh man, I'm getting mad.
Oh, it was Joey Porter.
Joey Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Porter Jr. was a phenomenal corner for I saw him make a lot of plays, and they were going at him to avoid that guy. So I'm gonna guess that he's pretty good, because I know that like a couple games that I watched, they literally were like picking on Joey Porter Jr. and I'm going, this kid's really good. Why are they picking on him? And it's because that guy is supposed to be good too.
Okay.
So
interesting.
So I think that that's about as much as I can add to it, because I didn't come across him much when I was doing my research on the. But I think he's probably at least a solid corner. Definitely a good college corner.
Well, hopefully
we'll see how that translates.
Hopefully here
to
in round 6 they got themselves a little gem then.
I mean, maybe if worst case scenario, I bet you he'll be a good special teams player. Worst case scenario.
And round 7, number 262. Honestly, probably. I can't stand this kid, but Brock Purdy, quarterback out of Iowa State.
So a little background. I was on the Brock Purdy train for a while there at Iowa State, and I'm telling him, Purdy's going to be a guy. Watch out for this Purdy kid. He's going to be your next gem at the NFL. Watch out for him. So that was probably like 2 years ago, right? And then so he starts watching their games, going, "Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it." And I'm like, "No, trust me, man. There's a lot of talent there."
I didn't see it at all.
It's one of those cases that I was wrong.
Oh my gosh!
Usually, if I tell you to check out a QB, especially,
yeah,
they end up being pretty good.
Yeah.
I got a pretty good hit rate with QBs.
I did not like Purdy.
I was wrong on Brock Purdy.
I did not like Purdy.
I was very wrong on Brock Purdy. Watching him throw interceptions wasn't Purdy.
I mean, it wasn't. It was it was really ugly, but it is what it is. He's a 7th round pick. I'm just going I don't know. I think that wasn't Carson Strong a free agent, undrafted free agent? Sometimes I don't understand. I guess it's obviously you can see where it's hard to evaluate talent, and it's even harder for people who aren't in the industry to evaluate the talent. If I'm looking at Carson Strong from Nevada, I would take him over Purdy. Maybe Purdy has a higher ceiling, I guess. Maybe a possibility if they can,
My guess is when it comes to especially 6th, 7th round picks, you're talking backups, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's scheme fit. I think it's all scheme fit. So they're looking at, okay, whose skill set best matches our scheme? And do we think that we can coach them up in this scheme? And more importantly, My guess, I don't know. If I was a GM and I'm drafting the 6th, 7th round, and I know this guy's going to be my third quarterback, I'm going, how's he going to fit in the quarterback room? Is he going to bring? Is he a good film study?
That's
is
one
he
thing,
smart about breaking down?
He is.
Right.
He
so
is.
that's the value that he's going to bring to the quarterback room, right?
Yeah,
he's there to help Trey Lance become a better quarterback.
Sure.
Because they're going to be their third quarterback.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I like Strong's potential better from a actual performance standpoint. But again, like you just said, they got Trey Lance. They don't need somebody bringing in an intelligent guy, which I do believe Purdy is an intelligent guy. It was just rough watching him. That's all.
Yeah, it was. Look, he threw. I mean, I endorsed the kid wholeheartedly, and then he just made me look bad. I mean, I was just like, we were watching games together, and I'm like, no, that's not how he's supposed to play.
That's it, man. That is not the guy. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's get on to San Francisco's projected starters here for 2022. Obviously, quarterback Trey Lance, who was a rookie last year, didn't play very much. 603 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, another 168 yards rushing, 1 touchdown in 6 games of action. I don't like, what is his name? The guy that they had started from last year. Thank you, Garoppolo. I don't like Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo benefited, everybody talks about them leading to the Super Bowl. I think he benefited from a damn good team around him. I don't like his statistics. I don't like the way he plays. I don't like watching him. I think Trey Lance, it's going to be interesting because I think this is obviously one of the most unknowns in all of football at this point in time. They traded up to get him. We have to see if that was a good pick. Look, he shows some potential for sure, but it's going to be interesting to see.
I think so. To me, this is the most interesting thing about their quarterback situation. Garoppolo's still there. So
I think he's on the trading block.
Okay, he's been on the trading block. I think that's obvious, but they're not going to give him away for free, which tells you something.
He hasn't actually been on the trading block. That was really a recent thing that they said.
Well, at least going into the draft,
he can seek a trade now. He's still got like a shoulder injury and stuff like that. Regardless, he's not going to be a starter because he's not going to be ready from day one.
I think the point is they're not willing to walk away from him for nothing.
Yeah, I guess.
If they can't, so that means they value him in some way. He's not valueless. We've seen other teams just straight up cut a guy, right? If they try to trade him, doesn't work, then they straight up cut him, right? You saw that with Foles. You saw that with. There's been other of those guys that are like borderline starter, high level bench players that have just been cut outright. I don't feel like they want to do that. They want to hang on to him. There's a reason for that. It's not for no reason. Now, they obviously. Just the fact that they've let it get out there that he's on the trading block means they're not looking at him to be. He's not their future. They know Trey Lance is their future, but there's a reason they're not letting him walk for nothing, and I think that is.
I'm not sure anybody's willing to give him anything.
Okay, but then they would just cut him so they don't have to pay him.
I guess
they would just cut him so they don't have to pay him.
I don't like Garoppolo.
They value him enough to keep him on the roster for what they're paying him more than letting him walk for nothing. So that tells me that they value him in some way, shape, or form. So either they think he's going to be a really good mentor to Trey Lance, or they're worried about Trey Lance's ability to be the starter right now.
And look, there's and obviously this happens in football. There's reports that come out, good and bad, that could be, for whatever many reasons. But there has been some reports about Trey Lance looking really good, throwing really good balls. I think he's got extreme talent in that physicality level and athleticism. But there's also been some reports that maybe he ain't picking up the game as quick as he should. So it'll be interesting to see. I think you have a very good team here that, like, if Lance is not the guy, man, it would be a real shame.
It would be. And then I also think, like, it's almost impossible to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go back to Garoppolo. Like, let's say Trey Lance starts off, like, 1-5. You can't go back to Garoppolo to try to save your season at that point.
Let the kid play.
But there's a reason they're not letting Garoppolo go. And it might just be solely just we need as much intelligence and coaching and mentorship around this kid as we can get. And keeping Garoppolo to be a second quarterback coach is more valuable than letting him walk for nothing. That might be the answer. Maybe that's what they're looking at. And maybe Garoppolo is willing to do that. And maybe they're just hoping, or maybe the idea is, like you said, let Garoppolo get healthy, keep him in the quarterback room, and then before the trade deadline, if a team gets desperate for a quarterback, now you can get something. That would be smart from them. But I just feel like we've seen before a player of Garoppolo's stature, if you will, situation, where it's like we're ready to move on. He's proven to be a borderline starter, but not a stud. We've seen guys like that before just be cut and let loose, and they haven't done that yet. So there's got to be a reason.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. All right. Running back. This is the rookie that they got last year, Elijah Mitchell.
Great player from Louisiana Lafayette.
963 yards, 5 touchdowns, 137 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. He actually had to have surgery, and he was only there for 11 games.
Yeah, so that stat line,
which
would be a good season,
yes,
was in 11 games.
Is 11 games. He definitely is a good running back. At least looked that way last year.
Monster at the college level.
We'll see how he bats back from the surgery. But, yeah, that's a good addition to their team last year.
Speaking of good players.
Speaking of good players, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, 77 receptions, 405 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think he had some more running that I didn't put on there, too.
I guarantee there's some running.
Yeah, I didn't put that down, but, man, Deebo Samuel is such a good player. He is such a good player.
Fun to watch.
Fun to watch.
That's a common theme for us in these videos. Fun to watch. That's what we as sports fans do. This is why we know what we know about other teams, because it doesn't matter if he's on our team. If he's fun to watch, we're going to find a way to watch him.
Love me some Deebo Samuel.
And Deebo's one of those guys.
Yeah, he is. And he masks problems. Look, I mean, again, when I talk about Garoppolo, it's like you got players like that help make you look better. I'm not a fan of Garoppolo, but Deebo Samuel, very big fan of. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, 56 receptions, 826 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I think he's a very solid wide receiver as well.
Yeah, and I think there's some more to be get. Like I was very high on him coming out of college. If you remember right, I was very happy when they drafted him. I thought that was a good compliment.
Me as well.
And I think there could be even more there to him. Like he's still on the young side.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes certain guys 3-4 years to really hit their stride, and I think there could be more still to give for him.
Sure. Wide receiver Javon Jennings. He was a rookie last year. 24 receptions, 282 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Seems like that could be a solid number 3 there. Then tight end, some guy, George Kittle, 71 receptions, 910 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
That name sounds familiar. Is he supposed to be good?
He's great.
Oh,
I absolutely love George Kittle, one of my favorite players in the pros. Such a good tight end. And entertaining as hell. On and off the field, entertaining as hell.
And like I said, that's for that Croft kid that they brought in, that's going to be a great mentor and a great... I mean, if you're Croft, you get to not have that much attention thrown your way because he's getting all of it.
Kittle demands attention.
Yeah.
Great.
And when we skipped over the wide receiver, but like we talked about during their draft, like Danny Gray is going to make plays for you as a 4th wide receiver. He might even take that 3rd wide receiver role from
Javon Jennings.
Yeah, he might. I don't know. Like I really like the kid, and I think, that could be a battle. So I think they're definitely 4 deep with solid wide receivers and 2 deep, or at least, one of the best tight ends in the game, and then a guy that I think has some potential that maybe wasn't being realized by the Jets.
Yeah, when you look at it, if Trey Lance, who obviously has the physical tools, I don't think there's any denying that at all, athleticism, physical tools. If he can really dial in the game, if he comes out the gate and he actually has been studying, he gets those plays down, you have a ton of weapons to play.
Well, see, this is the thing with him and Garoppolo, right? Like, you can say Garoppolo's not that great of a quarterback, but he gets the ball in the hands of those weapons. If Trey Lance puts the ball in other people's uniforms instead of in the hands of those weapons,
then
it doesn't matter that he's a better athlete with a better arm because he doesn't get the ball into the hands of those weapons.
It's true. It's true. It is true.
Like, as a Bears fan, I'm an expert on watching quarterbacks that can't get the ball in the hands of their weapons.
That's true, too. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of play there. Let's get into their offensive line. Tackle, there's Trent Williams. Guard, Colton McKivitz. Center, Jake Brendel. Right guard, Daniel Brunskill. And then right tackle, Mike McGlinchey. Probably messed that name up. But, that's a solid line as well. Like I said, it's a good team. It really is. It's especially offensively. I think that there's going to be, they're fun to watch, and they're going to continue to be fun to watch. All right, let's get in their defense. Left defensive tackle, they have projected starter Drake Jackson, who is the rookie out of LSU. Again,
USC.
uh, USC, sorry. Again, high on this kid, and I think that he can step in right away and do some stuff because he also has a guy on the other side of him that's going to take some of that pressure off him. So,
Oh, he's the other side's good. Huh?
yeah, and then defensive tackle. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Okay, guys. Oh, okay. I see what I did. Okay, I fixed it. All right. Defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, 8 tackles. He was injured. He only played 4 games. When he's healthy, he's a solid player there, Kinlaw.
Yeah, I still feel like we talked about it before the video started a little bit. I still don't think that they found the production that they missed when they traded Buckner to you guys. I don't think that. I feel like that's a piece.
A player like that.
No, it is hard to replace, but I think that their defense hasn't been the same since they traded him. It's still good, but it's not on that extraordinary level that it was when he was there, and I don't think they found that replacement yet.
Yeah,
so.
And then Armstead, 63 tackles, 6 sacks. I don't think has fully lived up to his potential as well.
Right. I mean, I think that's who they thought was going to be the replacement, and look, maybe that's still to come. Maybe it's still to come. 6 sacks isn't terrible for a defensive tackle.
No.
But it's not.
He had a lot of hype about him.
It's not what Buckner was doing, and it's not what was expected of him.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you got Nick Bosa there, 52 tackles, 15.5 sacks, 4 forced fumble, and 1 pass deflect. Nick Bosa is a very, very good player.
Yeah.
Talk about fun to watch.
Yeah.
I love watching the Bosa brothers.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if those two ever paired up on the same team?
Oh, jeez.
Oof.
They should both come to Indy. Anyways, all right. We'll get into the linebacking core, but again, just to reiterate, I think Drake Jackson is going to be great on the other side of Nick Bosa, and it'll be interesting to watch how that line comes together, and hopefully they can get at a higher level. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, 21 tackles, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 1 pass deflect. Injury, he only played 3 games. Fred Warner, 137 tackles, half sack, 1 forced fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, 4 pass deflects. Linebacker Aziz Al-Shier, 102 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 interception, and 5 pass deflects. I mean, that's solid play there out of linebacker core. I like it.
Yeah, but I think also
if Dre Greenlaw can stay healthy, that'll definitely help.
I also think it speaks to the fact that, I don't think their linebackers are putting up stats like that when Buckner was there because they didn't need to.
Correct.
So I think that actually can kind of be a little bit of a, it looks good for them, but maybe that is because the defensive line's not doing what it used to do.
Well, I mean, if the defensive line can't do it, I guess it's nice to have linebackers that can sweep up and get that.
Yeah, but
I think Fred Warner is pretty underrated as a player, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think it's a solid. I think they're good. I mean, they're fine. My point is just those numbers indicate that maybe you're working them a little bit harder than. I doubt that their linebacking core had those kind of numbers the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Probably not,
because their defensive line was doing more.
Absolutely. I mean,
that's
you said,
my point.
Buckner's a damn good player, and I'm happy to have him. I think he's a hard person to replace.
I think I guess the point that I'm just trying to make is they're not the team that the defense carried them to the Super Bowl a few years ago. They're going to have to rely on their offense being better, and when you got Trey Lance out there as a young guy that hasn't proven that yet, it's just something to think about.
All right, let's get into their cornerback. You got Travaris Ward, 67 tackles, 2 interceptions, 10 pass deflects coming over from Kansas City.
I mean, he's got playoff experience for sure, Super Bowl experience.
It's solid play there. George Odom, 55 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, 2 pass deflects coming over from the Colts. Again, I never felt like he lived up to the hype about him. I don't. Yeah, exactly. I like him. It's not that I'm hating on him. It's just that I don't think that he was near what I thought that he was going to be or what I wanted, what I expected. So, could end up being a solid player for you guys. But free safety Jimmy Ward, 77 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 6 pass deflects. And then you've got cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, 42 tackles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, 11 pass deflects. The 2 cornerbacks definitely have some really good upside there, and we'll have to see how that back goes. But I do agree with you that it seems like that defense they're maybe a step down from the best. You know what I mean? It's good, it's solid, and obviously when you have players like Nick Bosa, hopefully this guy from Drake can come in here and play well, but it's not elite.
Yeah, and I think so the interesting thing is it'll be interesting to see how the season goes because they're kind of at the point now where it's like, okay, you got a young offense led by a young quarterback that's talented but young. You got a defense that's got a couple of young pieces, but it's aging.
Yeah.
So at what point do you go, okay, the offense is what it is. It's time to retool this defense. I think that could be coming.
I think so too.
This could be one of those years that...
And obviously with John Lynch being the GM, his mind is going to be on that defense anyways.
Sure. But I think there are still... I'm not... Listen, let's get it straight. I don't want to hear in the comments that I was trashing your defense. I still think it's one of the better defenses. It's top half of the league for sure. But it used to be top,
outside of it.
It used to be like top 3.
Yeah, it's just
and it's not top 3 anymore.
And let's also face it, the competition there. You got the Rams and you got the Cardinals. I don't know, man. Like it could be interesting to see. Again, this is another, like I said with the Cardinals, where it's like I could see them getting up. Being I don't know. The Rams are going to be a tough team to beat, but I think 1 and 2, I think between or 2 and 3, I think between San Francisco and Cardinals, it's going to be interesting to see who pulls that out.
You feel like one of those teams is going to make a wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Possibly.
Yeah.
But because it's this is what we talked about.
I would say that
but we've talked about it in some of the other videos, like especially when we were talking about it in the East. Like this is not like in the AFC, it's obvious. There's like 11 teams. It's just obvious.
Yeah.
It's like these teams are on another level. In the NFC, it seems it's more like one team per division. There's like 4 that are all obvious.
Yeah.
And then it's like a bunch of teams that are going to be competing for those 4.
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions on those teams.
Yeah. So a bunch of them are competing for the wild cards. Yeah, exactly. Arizona's the defense. Like those other teams, we talked about it. So it's like, I don't think it's guaranteed that the second team in this division gets a wild card.
Sure. I could definitely see that. I mean,
so even though we're talking about like those 2 teams should be competing for the wild card.
I think the East is much improved.
Yeah, the East is improved. The South, like we talked about it when we did the South videos.
Carolina and Saints.
Carolina has improved. The Saints, if Winston is healthy and is good Jameis, they're going to be really good. So there's a lot of teams competing for these wild cards. And I don't know. Is
I'm gonna tell you this?
Is Lance ready?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is like if this team had if they went off and got a veteran, even like a Baker Mayfield or something like that, I would definitely say, okay, that looks a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That looks a lot better. And again, Trey Lance could be that guy. We just don't know. That's the big question.
He didn't, in the limited time that we saw him last year, he didn't show it yet. Keyword is yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come out and show it this year.
Yeah.
The keyword is yet.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What do you think? Okay, as far as off season was concerned.
Right. As far as the offseason was concerned, I mean, so they didn't have a first round pick. I think they had solid draft picks. I like I said with the free agency, I like what they did in some areas, and then I also think they let talent walk in other areas. I mean,
Medium.
I'd say medium, but with the caveat of like I think you said it 3 or 4 times during the thing. This is a GM that's earned our trust.
That's right.
This is a GM that's proven to be good. So even though I want to say medium, I'm going to say medium with the caveat that you trust John Lynch.
He does know how. He does seem to know how to evaluate talent like ours does. He probably sees things in people that we don't. Where it kind of So yeah, I agree with you.
I also think it was interesting. I think come draft time, I fully expected Garoppolo to get traded and for them to use that pick on something. And the fact that didn't happen also, like that's also part of the trust John Lynch part, right? It seems like the obvious move. There's a reason it hasn't happened yet. There's a reason he's valuing Garoppolo more than the offers that he's been given. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's not much. Like people are not clamoring for it.
Right, so that's, for some reason, he's like, look, if I can't get, of actual decent draft pick for this kid, I'm going to keep him. So there's a reason for that.
And like you said, I mean, people are going to get desperate. There could be injuries happening. My personal opinion is that I could see Garoppolo going to a team like the Giants or something like that, where maybe they kind of get tired of Daniel Jones. But
yeah, to me, I see more of like I think if they hold on to him, let's say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt week 3, like that could be the move.
Well, Jordan Love's there.
If they believe in Love,
I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
anyways, I don't like Garoppolo at all. So
let's say the Saints.
View him as even
let's say
an
the
option.
Saints with Winston, right? So Winston gets hurt.
Okay,
If
I
you
can
could
see
trade
that
for
a little
Garoppolo-
bit. I can see that a little bit. That's a good team, and you get a game manager in there that can manage.
At
the
least
game.
it saves your potential, especially if you came out hot, right? Let's say the Saints come out and win like 5. They're like 5-1 or 4-1. Winston gets hurt in that 5th game, and it's right before the trade deadline, and you're going, man, we can make the playoffs if we just have average quarterback play.
Yeah.
You're going to be willing to give up a 3rd or 4th round pick to bring in Garoppolo that you might not be willing to do
so I
right
think
now.
it is a smart decision for John Lynch to do that. We'll have to see how it all goes. But anyways, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And if you're a San Francisco fan, if Trey Lance does end up being the guy that his physical tools say that he can be, I think that you're still in for a good year this year.
Yeah, especially with those weapons. I mean, if he can just manage to get the ball in those weapons' hands, they'll be a good team.
Yeah.
Maybe not a great team, but a good team.
Well, thank you for joining us here at Lowry Sports Reddit. Thank you for giving us a watch. If you got anything out of this content, give us a like, give us a subscribe.
And go ahead and hit that comment section for us. Like I said, let us know what the guy that played the San Francisco position that he was talking about.
I can't believe I didn't write that down.
Let us know who he is, what he plays. Is he good? Are you going to miss him? We're not sure.
Maybe none of you actually know what position he plays. Maybe he's just a terrible player. I don't know.
Anyway, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think about our opinion of your team. And let us know, if we got something wrong. If you're going to come at us and tell us that we're trash, back it up with something, please. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come back at you. That's all it is. That's what it is.
All right, well, thank you for giving us a watch, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.